So in Colombia, in certain parts of Colombia where sex work is not illegal, where it's legal, um, there are some things I noticed about these stories that are coming out. I don't know much about sex workers in Colombia and what they're dealing with on a regular basis. I actually don't. That's one of the countries I don't think I've studied anything about it. But in some of these news reports that are coming out about the Secret Service agents who were caught up in this big scandal of hiring prostitutes, there are a couple of interesting things I just want to highlight here. What I've pulled out of some of these stories is very interesting to me. In these certain parts of Colombia where they have legalized sex work, if you go up to the room, if say there's a bunch of people that come in from out of town or out of country, right, and they're staying in these nice hotels and that sort of thing. If you have a guest up into your room, somebody who you didn't bring with you, who's not with you at party and not paying for the room, any guests you bring up to your room, they have to check in at the guest desk, at the registry desk, leave some documentation, leave identification with the desk, and I'm supposing that they take down note of what room you're going into, whose hotel room you're going to. I think this is really, really good. I think this is awesome. And the rules of the hotel state that your guest must leave by 7:30 in the morning. So if anybody turns up missing, anybody turns up hurt, anybody turns up robbed, or anything like that, there's already documentation with the hotel desk downstairs in the building that this is happening in. Pretty safe and sane system, I think. And anybody not doing that, anybody who doesn't have anyone in their life who's working as a sex worker, who knows where they are, needs more security. They need to have other people who know where they are at all times. So if you turn up missing, that person doesn't get away with, kidnapping or killing you or raping you. Okay. So that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm not sure these workers, these people from our country, these government employees, realized that they were dealing with, and that they couldn't get away with bullshit with the sex trade workers there. At least one of them, because I think what happened, and the way this all came to light and became known in public scandal, was that one of the women was not out of the room at 7:30 in the morning. So the hotel goes up to the room, knocks on the door. Excuse me, you need to be out of the room now. It's 7:30 a.m. And the guy who had purchased the room was not going to pay the sex worker. There was some dispute about payment. Now, normally if this would happen, okay, the sex worker would just be run out of the hotel. Okay? She wouldn't have anyone to go to except possibly a pimp or a bodyguard or something like that. Okay? And she would just not be ready. She would just have her services stolen from her. But now, it says in the news reports, the Secret Service agents eventually paid her. Okay? Eventually paid her. And what happened is that the police, or some official, some authority, made a report. And I guess they made this report with the embassy. And that's how all of this came to light. So they can't get away. They realized, whoever this guy was, he realized the huge mistake when he realized that that report was filed. And that report should have been filed. I'm not saying they should go prosecute the guy and do anything, but to file a report about someone who's refusing to pay a sex worker sounds reasonable enough. Sounds reasonable enough to me. This way, highly privileged assholes who decide that they can just, and I've had this happen, decide they can call any kind of sex worker, doesn't matter if they're from the street or if they're highly paid. They can get away with not paying her, especially if they're in a foreign country, especially if they have diplomatic immunity. Okay? And they can just use women however, or men, however the way they fucking feel like it. this didn't happen in this case. That's good. But nobody's highlighting any of this because it's all whether or not the men are married or not, or whatever they're doing. Everything's being overlooked, but the very sane law of not having, the very sane practice of not making sex work illegal, and other common sensible practices, like if you're having someone up into your hotel room and you're from out of town, okay, and that after you leave our country, we have no way of finding you if you kill somebody or if you hurt somebody, if you rob someone. We're going to take your guest's ID, and if she's not out of the room by 7:30 in the morning, we're going to come up and get her out. And that way, everything is on the up and up. I think that's awesome. And just wanted to let everybody know what I think.